I just tell my story. You know, I write the things that only I can say. Nobody else can tell the stories that I tell because they true to me. They true to where I come from and the people I grew up around. So it's only a story that can be written by Joseph.
Yeah, let's get to it. I say a prayer and I get to it. If it's a problem, we get to it. Never know how we get to it. I took an L, had to get to it. I overcame what I've been through. If it's a problem, we get to it. Never know how we get to it. Let's get to it.
What's up, loved ones? Welcome back to another episode of Joseph Live, where the story is the name. I'm here with, we kicking off Women's Empowerment?
It's Women's History Month.
Women's History Month. Women's History Month with one of the most phenomenal women I have ever known, that I'm consistently inspired by since I was born. We'll insert that picture here. You know what I'm saying, G? We'll do that in post. But I'm here with my sister, my big sister, Starling. What's up, sis?
What's up, bro?
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here. I love this setup. It's dope.
Thank
it's
you.
everything.
Thank you. It's great to have you here. I'm excited. Like I said, I've always been beyond inspired by you. Dad'll tell you. We got our dad here in the studio audience as well. But I've always been inspired by.
And that's funny you say that though, because like growing up, I didn't think that because you used to always mess with me.
No, it's because okay, and we'll get into it. But it's because I didn't see you every day.
Okay.
I didn't have the fortune of seeing you every day. So when you did come to the house and you did stay with us,
you had to stay on my head.
Yeah. Some of my favorite memories growing up are when you would come and stay with us for whatever reasons. So So sis, I wanna trek through your story. You have an incredibly inspiring story. You have overcome so many things. You do so many things. You've been so many things. Like, I don't know how you've packed this all into your 30-something. I ain't gonna put that.
Look.
You know what I'm saying? She looked good. Black don't crack. She looked great.
It's the
you know
G.
what I'm saying?
It's the G.
But I just wanna, just take it all the way back. And first, let's start with your name. Your name. The tagline of our show is "The story is the name." And names have power and they mean something. And I call you Ashley, but you go by Starling. Can you explain the significance of why you go by that, why you chose it for your film production company's names and things like that?
So Starling is my middle name. Ashley is my first name. And it's actually a bird. There's a starling bird. There's a couple different kinds of them. I like the European one better. I like the feathers on that one.
Oh, okay. I got you.
More than the American one.
You know what I'm saying? A little style on the bird.
Yeah. Growing up, I used to hate it. I didn't understand it, but my mom always told me when I got older I would. And I learned that Starling was the name of, I think, like my great-great-great-grandmother. She was Native. Yeah. Like the history of Native, they name their babies off of like what they see when they're born and that type of stuff. And so when I went to prison, I was like, I thought my life was over. So I was like, I got to do a rebrand when I get out of here. And also Ashley, and Williams was so common. Like when I was in college, it was like Ashley 11 Williams at FAMU.edu, So I was like, I need to differentiate myself, and what better than Starling, because it's not as common as Ashley.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
You didn't?
I mean, our name is common. It had to be like 4 Jonathan Joseph Williams in my high school.
The whole Jonathan Joseph?
The whole
Dang.
name. But they do the middle initial.
Oh,
so Jonathan J.
Yeah.
No,
it is common.
Crazy.
I mean, Williams is a common slave name that was passed down. And then in the 80s, Ashley. Everybody was naming their babies Ashley. I think I ended up being Ashley off of some soap opera.
Nuh-uh.
That my
From
grandmother,
the
General
stories?
Hospital.
Not
General
the stories.
Hospital.
Not you named after the stories.
It was that's what my mama told me. It was
that's
a woman
funny.
named Ashley on General Hospital, and my grandma was like, "You gotta name her this." I love that character, so that's
Not
how
you being named after the stories is
Yeah.
crazy.
I didn't I never even went back to look to see like what that character, who that character was, but everybody, 80s, 90s, Ashley was
Yeah, that's crazy.
popular.
That's true.
name.
You don't see many babies anymore named Ashley. But our generation, it's like so many. It's Ashley spelt a whole bunch of different ways.
Ashley's, Brittany's,
That's
Stephanie's.
true. That's
It's a
true.
lot. And a name, there's a lot in a name, but also a name can aid you and it can tell you it can give you an inkling to what. And I mean, now some people just be naming their babies old names.
Othello.
Yeah.
Gee. Gertrude.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And that has meaning to them and their parents and whatever they named after, but you can always kind of tell, these new age babies have, we try to be a little bit more different with the names.
Yeah. So y'all naming y'all's kids, name them something evergreen. Don't name them something for the time. Name them something that's going to sound
Something
good
different
50 years, like,
so they can't know your age by your name.
You know what
Like,
I'm saying?
Ashley, I know she was born in the 80s, okay?
Right.
I know what decade that is,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's funny. All right, sis. So tell me like a little bit about your childhood, what it was like for you. Because obviously we grew up in two different houses. I would only see you when you would come, and we had different upbringings.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about like your background, some of the things that you saw that helped shape you as a creative, as a thought leader, as a like all of those things.
Oh, wow. I think, my childhood wasn't the easiest, but I also was blessed to be able to see things that I feel like a lot of children at that age didn't get to see. My mother was into theater and the arts and all of that. And so from a young age, like I got to meet August Wilson when I was like 10 at the National Black Theater Festival. My mom was doing the costumes for Fences.
What?
Yeah. And so like I got to be immersed in this. I got the opportunity to Spike Lee came and ate dinner at my uncle's house.
That's crazy.
And sat right next to me when I was like 8,
Speaking of, you see we got the Spike Lee
Oh, I
coffee
didn't
table,
even see
boy.
that. I saw your boy Kobe.
Yeah.
I didn't see.
We got
That's
the
dope.
Spike,
That's
coffee
dope.
book.
Shout out to Spike.
Shout out to Spike Lee, man.
My uncle played Major League Baseball. He was like that dude, back in the 90s. So he was well connected, and because of that, I was able to meet, different folks. And then my mom was involved in that, and so that's really what got me interested. I feel like writing has always been in me. I started reading like Toni Morrison and Maya Angelou like at a very young age.
What pushed you towards the writing and the reading aspect, especially reading things like that? Now, mind you, we came up in a time where our parents did educate us on like Black history.
Yeah.
So like what were the things that kind of
I don't know
to
if
that?
my mom necessarily like educated me on Black history. I think by being immersed in some of the arts that was focused around Black people kind of gave me that. I don't really know what, I just remember like my mom is, shout out to mom, she's educated, right? Like I remember she was I was in college classes as a kid with her. So like I was soaking in all of this knowledge, even though I didn't understand it at the time, because she was a single parent. So I got a lot of like stuff that probably was just embedded in my brain that I subconsciously I didn't even realize. And then, punishment would be like, oh, you lied, go write a 10-page paper about why you lied.
10-page paper on why you lied. It's crazy. That's insane.
Go write. I think once she started seeing that I had a gift in me, like that would be her punishment. Go write 5 poems or go read this book. Oh, you don't know what this word is? Go look it up. and go tell me and write me a page on what it is, you know. And I don't know if that was the best thing to do, but it did something to me. And so I just remember reading Maya Angelou's I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. And I remember just the way that her writing was so vivid and so lyrical, and it was spiritual, and the way that she played on words, it just drew me in. And I was like, I want to write like this. Like, I want to be able, you know, and writing has always been like my escape. If there is something traumatic going on, or, you know, something that I can't emotionally deal with fully or know how to process, writing is where I go to. And I remember the first time I really knew that I had a gift was, I think I was in like 7th grade, and we had to write a paper. The teacher had everybody start writing a story. And so I don't know why this story of this black man and his daughter during slavery times in the cotton fields just came to my mind.
Like, so this is original?
Yeah, I was just sitting in class, and she was like, everybody, because it was like the precept to the assignment that we were going to have, which was to write a story. And that's just what came to my mind. I was like, okay, let me write about this. Like, I didn't really know fully. I mean, you know, you see roots, you see like these, you know what I mean? But nobody really sat me down and was like, this is your history right here. I just knew that we were slaves at one point. I knew that black people had a struggle. I seen it every day, you know, through my family. So she said, I'm going to pick 3 stories to read out of that. And I want y'all to tell me which is the best one. Wow. And I'm not going to tell you who it is. Now, this is a mixed classroom. This is white kids, black kids, Latino kids. This is a mix. And after they read mine, everybody's mouth was open, like, wow. And she was like, okay, who won? And they all picked mine. And I was like, I guess I'm kind of good at this. That's you know, like. you know
what's funny, and this is serendipity, right? So in the same way you was inspired like that, where it came for me was the poems my dad would write my mom, and when he was away, and he would send them, and they would be like, you know, they would have like this cool handwriting. I guess he would have, what he told me was he would have somebody like, you know, make it look nice. These were poems that he wrote. Okay. And she would read them, and I just remember looking and being like, whoa, that's crazy. You can do that with like words. Like, right. And so
we still got these? Because I need.
No, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know. But
I ain't never heard them. I want to hear them.
I just remember being like, oh wow. Yeah. Like, that's crazy. And then in 5th grade, for me, we had a writing competition, and we were writing poems. And I wrote a poem about parents. Wow. Like, because I remember in the lesson was like, when you're writing something, you want to write something that people can relate to and feel. Okay. And I was like, well, shoot, we in the 5th grade. Everybody got parents. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hope they love their parents like I love mine. But so I just went for it. And I ended up winning, and that poem got published in a book, in the like book that they put all the kids, you know, stuff in. And that's the first time I was like, oh, okay, I can really like put words together, you know, and like tell a story. So that's funny that it was like that for you too, in a way. So from there, did you automatically like, okay, I'm gonna be a writer? I'm gonna be did you start thinking that way from that point?
I did, but at that time, I think it wasn't really, like, you know, we're growing up, your parents want you to do this and be that, what they think is the route that they would like you to go. So I don't think, you know, aside from my mom being like, you need to write this, you need to write that, I don't think they really pushed that, you know what I mean? It was something that I kind of was like an inner thing to me. It was like my sacred space, same. My peace and my way to escape from the chaos of the world around me, you know. And then I was still learning and understanding my voice and knowing what that meant. So I didn't really tap into it. When I got into high school, I kind of did the same thing. I wrote a poem. I had a couple poems published, you know, like, I don't know what they call those, but they go to different schools and they get a compilation of poetry. So I had that. published as well. But I think it wasn't until, honestly, until I picked up a camera in high school, where I still had a love for writing, but it was like, I can now convey what I'm feeling through a lens.
Yes, yeah.
And by that time, I was getting ready to looking at colleges and what I'm going to do with my life. Because I always knew I would go to college. But it was more, be a doctor, be this, be that. You need to, so I didn't hone in. I didn't tap into those things, because we don't really, that generation before us didn't really look at writing and photography and filmmaking as something that was lucrative, or tangible. Mm-hmm. There just wasn't a lot of representation.
But for you, it felt real because you sat at a table with Spike. Like you met August Wilson.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna feel real to you because I've touched these people.
And like, even with Spike, like I don't know what happened with that Spike. But anyway, I was supposed to be auditioning for the film Crooklyn, and that's another thing. My mom had me in like acting. Like, it was so crazy. Like, I was up for the role in the film called Queen. I lost it to Raven Simone because she was already on the Cosby Show and they knew her.
Yeah.
But just the fact that I was the runner-up,
Crazy.
And so my mom kind of had me on that path with the acting, and I did a couple commercials. I did like a curl activator commercial.
Speaking of, this is my second time plugging Shea Moisture, Mael's. You need to call us.
Right. This one was called Liquid Love.
Shout out to Liquid Love. Shout out to Liquid Love.
I remember.
Ain't nothing about Liquid Love good for your hair.
Listen, my mama still got the poster on the wall frame.
Oh, I know the one with the when you had the ponytail?
No, I had the curly. It was wet and slick.
Oh, okay. I thought you, because I remember my dad had a poster, a big old picture of you with the like juicy ponytail.
I don't know if that was the Liquid Love.
I think that was it.
It was
right? Yeah.
Oh, okay, well then I haven't seen that one.
Liquid Love.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But yeah, so, I had the acting thing was there, but I was young. Now that I'm into it, I would act, but it's not in my heart. My heart is writing, directing. But I have a deep respect and love for actors, because I feel like that's an art that people really take for granted when you get in front of a camera and have to portray characters and take these lines and bring them into life. But yeah, so once I got to college, I realized that I'm not good at math. I am not good at science or chemistry or biology or none of the E's that you got to do. Right. I tried to do nursing. That didn't work.
Hold on. You moving so fast. You're moving so fast. So, because I want to take it back to like in your childhood, we wouldn't see each other often. For various reasons. But what do you remember about those times? Like, because we have so many, me and you specifically, we have so many pictures together because it was just us for, a little bit. And, I'm your first little brother. Like, it's a little different. Like, what do you remember about those times coming? Like, some of my favorite pictures, like the one where I have the Malcolm X hat and you're holding a microphone. And that's like so powerful, because I just think about now it's like me with the microphone, but you with the X hat.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, in that hat being Spike Lee, once again, coming back to Spike. I might name the episode
Spike Lee joint.
Yeah, a Spike Lee joint, yeah. But what do you remember about, coming to the house and just having, your first trio of little brothers, because you have two.
I got 6 total.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. 2 trios, though.
2 trios, yeah.
2 trios of brothers.
I don't know. I just remember it being fun. I know at that point in life, that house in Arlington, where y'all was at, my mom and her husband at the time, we lived like 5 minutes from each other.
No.
So, yeah, we did. Yeah.
Oh, I had no clue.
And so I got to see y'all all the time. So that was like a great thing because I think he used to pick me up from school. Yeah, Dad used to pick me up from school, and I would come over there every day pretty much, and then on the weekends. So it was a joyous time. I had fun. It was way better being over there with you versus being by myself over at my mom's. You know, because when you're a kid, you just want other kids to play with. But then, you know, I think I was like 6 or 7 when it just abruptly stopped, and then there was a gap from when I saw you, because I just feel like our other two brothers just popped up. Like I really don't even remember.
Yeah, I feel like that. I tell Justice all the time, I'm still mad he was born close to my birthday. I'm still pissed about it. Just, Scoop, poetic. I'm pissed, dog, still. Yeah, they just popped up.
And then I just remember coming back over there and like, y'all was bad as hell. Y'all just was everywhere all the time. Like y'all gave me anxiety. I didn't know what to do. Y'all was tearing stuff up. And then I just remember as we got older, like when I became a teenager, y'all
we used to tear
talked so bad about me, talking about I was fat and all of the above. But I remember we used to sneak watching BET.
Oh, for sure.
Because we couldn't watch BET. And that was one thing that made me not want to go over there. Because I was like, I can't watch music videos, not realizing that I shouldn't have been watching them anyway.
Right. But we didn't know, but that was like the gravitational pull of culture.
Right. And you was Genuine Junior.
I promise you. G. I'm talking about, I was the same OG.
Doing all the dances.
I was the same OG.
Listen, and all he would have to see the video is one time.
Yeah.
One time, and he would get the whole routine. I really thought you was going to be a dancer. I ain't even going to hold you. Like I
might still do our next little, you know what I'm saying?
And then you used to be singing and talking so much, you never had a voice. Like, you didn't have a voice for like 4 years.
It was a while. It was from 9 to 14.
Oh, longer than 4,
the polyps on my vocal cords from 9 to 14.
You didn't have a voice for a long time, so I guess dancing was your expression.
No, it was. I had to get it out. You know, one of my favorite memories, though, and this is like a core memory of my life, is you were over, and I remember the sneakers you had. This is like part of me becoming a sneakerhead and like loving like sneakers. You had the Pippins. The up-tempos with the air on the side.
I remember
the
that.
Black ones with the white. And I was like, oh, she cold. Because I remember they was on Georgia the Jungle. He had them in the Georgia the Jungle movie. I'm like, my sister got these. She cold. Like, and I thought you could hoop, but you didn't play basketball. But
I did gymnastics.
You did gymnastics. Yeah. But it was All-Star Weekend in the years 2000. And we watched the NBA dunk contest with Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, and Steve Francis and Baron Davis. And that moment, and we went outside because this is right when Dad had put in the basketball goal for us. And we were out there like we lowered it and trying to dunk and all type of stuff. And it was, I don't even know if you remember that, but it was like such a core memory for me because it was basketball, it was sneakers, it was like being with my big sister. And that's always been one of my like favorite, you know, core memories growing up. But when you did get to a teenager, I could not understand you. Why is she sleeping all the time? What that? Because we got a 5-year age difference.
Yeah.
So you 13, I'm 9, 8, whatever that is, and you just like sleep all the time. I'm like, what? Where's the fun? I'm in the house jumping off the couch with a skateboard. I'm doing all type of wild stuff. But I used to always look forward to you just coming to the house, and I just wanted to be in your face.
You used to listen to my phone calls if I was talking to my homegirl, trying to talk to a boy. He on the phone listening.
Breathing. Gee, I'm on the other line. We talking on the phone.
What we talking about?
What we talking about?
Oh, you like this boy? Oh.
That's funny. Yeah, I always looked up to you. Like you were always so cool to me. And that didn't change. You know, even when you went off to college, that was really inspiring too. And you were doing all these different things. Like you said, I remember you, like, I didn't know about the nursing thing, but when you said you wanted to be a journalist, I was like, oh, that's what I want to do because I like to write too. I want to do that when I go to college. That was the first thing, like, when I when I started talking about majors, I wanted to do journalism because that's what you was doing.
And you know, it's crazy because God just aligned that for me, because I literally, I was like, I'm not doing nursing. I was trying to get into business school. FAMU is known for their business school as well, SBI. And I kept, they said my GPA wasn't high enough because I didn't do well in the science and nursing classes. So I started taking SBI business classes. And every semester I was taking them and they would not let me in. Like they was like, no. And I'm like, y'all, I can't be here forever. Like I need to graduate. So the journalism, the FAMU School of, I think it's graphic and journalism. I forget now. I've been out of school for a minute. But the building was literally just getting built. And I remember sitting on the steps after they told me I could not get into business school. And the building was getting built. And I was like, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm going next semester. I'm going over to J school is what they call it at FAM. And because I got to get the hell out of school. Like I can't be a forever student. Like y'all crazy. I've been here too long already. So I went over there and they let me in right away.
But you know, and you graduating is like huge because you didn't have a regular college experience. You had a lot that transpired. And if you want to, I would love for you to just tell the story on like everything from the day you stepped on campus to like all you had to overcome just to get to graduation date.
Yeah. I mean, you know, originally when I went to school, I was really lost because, like I said, I wasn't going down the path that I wanted. I was doing what, you know, what my grandmother, what my mom said you need to do. And then had a lot of family issues. So by the time I got to college, I was like, you know, I worked so hard to get here. Like, what did I do this for? So I really went through a phase of like trying to figure it out, trying to discover myself. And on top of that, trying to get into, you know, business school. I ended up, when I was 21, I met this guy, former rapper. We ain't even gonna say his name, but started dating him. And I was with him for like a year and some change before it turned violent. And I mean, looking back, you know, the signs were there, but I think it's 18 to 24 is the age group that's most prevalent to go through domestic violence situations. Because you're young, you know, you might be away from your family.
Right. Isolated,
yeah. And so, you know, when I went to school in Florida, I had family there, but after my first year, everybody moved back to Texas. So, and nobody,
that's right, because you graduated high school in Florida.
Yeah. And like my grandparents sold their house, my aunt and them sold their house, like everybody on my mom's side, everybody moved back to Texas. And I was like, well, I'm already here, you know, I'm gonna finish school because I'm not going through that whole process. You know, you gotta go pay out of state until, you know, all that whole stuff. And so I found myself in this relationship fighting for my life. I had got arrested like twice with this man. He ended up, locking me in the house, beating me for hours. He cut my hair off. He burned me with cigarettes, hot food. I was literally scared for my life. If I tried to leave, he would take my phone, my money, my keys. You know, he like monitored everything. And it's so crazy because it's one of the things that I've heard a lot of women, because I used to speak out about it a lot. Now I'm focused on social justice, but a lot of women who've been in the system has also dealt with domestic violence or in some kind of way, whether it be family violence when they're growing up or, you know, in a relationship with somebody. But, you know, you don't really know what the signs are or what to look for. And then all of a sudden you just wake up and it's like, I'm in this twilight zone and I don't know how to get out.
Yeah, because I remember out of my ignorance, and even like we would teach, you know, what they call dating violence to students. And the common thing is like, well, why they didn't know that they was, so hearing you say like, a lot of times it just feels like you go from A to Z.
It is, and it happened really fast. Like, I mean, now being older, you know, hindsight is always 20/20. And when I got out of that, I studied it because I didn't want to end up in another relationship like that. And a lot of women, that's what's normal to them because of how they are grown up. So that's just normal. Right. But I knew that wasn't normal. So I did a lot of research to see like, how did I end up in this kind of relationship? And so, you know, it went from one day he like mushed me to like next week he's locking me in the room beating me. Wow. So there was no, you know what I mean, real time to, and then he knew that I wanted to leave, that I was not going to be the type to deal with that and stay with that. So he did everything in his power to keep me in that situation. I lost everything. I lost my apartment. I damn near lost my car. I ended up getting some money from the state once I was able to escape. And I'll never forget that day, like for the rest of my life. I just remember I was homeless because I had got kicked out of my apartment. It was a crazy situation. Kicked out of my apartment because of him. And he lived in Georgia, which I went to school in Tallahassee. He lived in Georgia. And the drive from Tallahassee to where his mom and people were was like an hour and a half. And I remember being in the car and him beating me in the car. And I just was crying out in my head, like, God, you got to get me out of this situation. I don't know what to do. I got to the point where I literally wanted to crash the car, but I didn't know if he was going to die. So I didn't do it. I'm like, I might die and he might still live. So I don't want to take this chance. And then he might.
That's not how it's supposed to go. He the one that's supposed to kick the bucket, so not me.
I was like, no, I'm not going to do that, because I really thought about it really heavy, because I was like, how do I get out of this situation? And I remember we pulled up to his mother's house, and obviously he's not going to bring me inside because he didn't want his mom to see, even though she knew what kind of person, what kind of son she had. Because later on I found out that he had done this before. I don't know to this extent, but, you know, he was an abuser before. And so I just remember he had cut my hair off again. He took my phone, didn't take my keys. I had like a quarter tank of gas, and he had some weed in $1 in the $2 bill and told me to roll it up. And at this time I'm already on papers. I done got arrested with this man twice, you know what I'm saying? So he gives that to me and goes inside. And when I tell you, it was nothing but God, that I didn't know where. I didn't have no phone, no GPS, no nothing. I didn't want to go to the police station there because he was well known in his city, and I didn't know if I could trust anybody. So what I did was I just dumped out all the weed on the ground, had the $2 that I was going to put in my gas tank, and I drove all the way back to Tallahassee to the police station.
On a quarter tank of gas.
On a quarter tank of gas. I stopped at the gas station, put the $2 in.
Oh, okay. But still, that ain't doing nothing.
Wrap my head up because I was looking crazy. Wrap my head. I had a scarf in the car because at this point I was living out of my car. And I got to the police station, and God is so real. I remember getting ready to walk into the police station, and one of my friend's ex-boyfriends was walking out.
Wow.
And he was like, hey, what's up? You know, just like, hey, how you doing? Da, da, da. And I was like, oh, you know, I'm trying to put on a face like, oh, what you doing at the police station? He's like, oh, I got somebody stalking me. What are you doing? And I literally, when he asked me that, like, what's going on, I just broke down. Like, I took the scarf off my head, and I was like, because he was a cool guy. You know, I didn't really stay in communication after they broke up, but he was cool. And he was like floored. He went in his pocket. He gave me every dollar he had in his pocket. And he worked at T-Mobile. He said, when you get situated, come see me and get a phone. I will give you a phone. And so when I went into the police station, I made the report, and they wouldn't let me press charges there because it didn't actually happen in that county. But I was like, look, I don't have no money. I don't have no phone. I don't have nowhere to go. And the police referred me to a place called Refuge House, which is a domestic violence shelter for women. And I called them from a payphone in the police station, and they was like, yeah, we got room. Come. So that's
awesome.
where I went.
And I remember that was when you called Dad. And
yeah.
I remember how pissed Dad was. And we were all pissed because at this time, I'm probably about 13, 14. And I was just like, I thought we was about to get in the car
and drive to Florida.
I thought we was going on a manhunt.
I had talked to him on the phone.
Well, yeah, because, well, what he did was, when I left, he called everybody in my phone, all my family, all my people, told them I was a prostitute, told them I was out here on drugs, I'm selling myself, I left, and like all of these lies. And so everybody's like, what? Like, what is going on? Because even when I called Dad was like, at first he was kind of like, on his side, like, what's going on? What you doing? And I'm like, nah.
That's
No, this is what's really going on. Like, did he tell you he cut off my hair? Did he tell you he burned me with cigarettes all over my body? Did he tell you he busted my lip and punched me in my eyes until I had blood lines in my eye? You know, like, and that's when Dad switched, like, what? Like, you know, and I told him, I said, I'm safe now. I'm in a shelter and I'm about to figure this out. And, you know, we were being represented by an attorney for that case that I had got, possession case I had got with him because of him. Like, I swear God was trying to tell me leave him a long time ago, but we be stubborn and, you know, think we just want to do what we want to do. And I called her too from the shelter and she was like, what? She's like, oh no, I'm not. She's a judge now. She was super cool. She was a black judge, black woman, black lawyer. Now she's a judge, but yeah, she didn't take any more money from me. She represented me. Wow. She took him off her caseload. She's like, I'm not representing him. And so in that process, I was dealing with a case. I'd never, ever been in trouble before. Right. So, you know, I had started a program and then I'm living in a shelter, trying to rebuild my life from
Not trying.
Point.
You did rebuild.
Well, I did.
And graduate.
I did. After I got out of that, and I even dealt with, it was so crazy. Like, even the woman at the shelter who was running the shelter, I was asking her to stay there a little bit longer. And, you know, people have this perception that when you go through things, you're supposed to look like what you go through. And when you're a light, and, you know, people don't understand how you can be so resilient. You know what I mean? Like, I went and got me some clothes. I said, you know what? I'm going to be Amber Rose today. I'm going out. I'm going to enjoy my life. You know, I just got out of this really bad relationship. Like, I'm not going to let this hold me back and keep me down, you know, because that could really cause major depression and all of those things. And the woman who was overseeing the house would not let me stay. I told her, I said, listen, he knows where I go to school. My apartment is not ready yet. Can I just get an extension for a few weeks? And she told me, no, you got money from the state. That's your relocation money. You need to go. So she basically put me out. But let me tell you, I got work. About 5 or 6 months later, I ended up doing a fashion show that was raising money for the house, for the refuge house. And I was the PR person, the person who did the interviews. And I ended up sitting right next to the director of the house. Wow. In the press room.
That's crazy.
And I said, can I just talk to you for a second, like off the record? And I told her what happened, and that woman got fired.
So you snitched? No,
I did. Because that's not cool.
That's crazy. Because
that's not, you know,
something could have happened.
Yeah, and that's not technically snitching if I'm letting you know.
No, I'm joking. I'm just.
Yeah, I told, though. I don't give a damn. I told. I got the opportunity next to the lady who owned this whole house. Let me talk to you for a second.
Let me get a moment in your time. Off the record. Yeah. No.
Yeah, and not that I don't want nobody to lose their job, but that's not cool. If she did that to me, she'll do that to other people. And you can't judge people just because I'm coming in here smiling and despite my situation, right, does not mean that everything is okay and that I'm not, you know, in danger, because I still was. He still was trying to find me, still was trying to talk to me, still was trying to, you know, get me to meet up with him and get, you know, so that's not cool. But hey, be careful who you.
No, that's right. That's a message. Message. So you rebuild, not only do you rebuild your life, you you surpassed that. Like I said, you graduate and you were taking care of your brothers too. Yeah,
I got them a little bit later. A couple years later. I know after that, what really helped me with healing with that domestic violence situation was researching it, learning it, understanding it, and speaking about it. I started speaking to the young women at my school at different, like the sororities and stuff like that, talking to them. And, you know, that was one of the things I'll never forget. I was talking to a group of women. I want to say they was AKAs.
Shout out to the AKA.
Yeah.
I told my wife Jasmine gonna be an AKA. She ain't got no choice.
She could be a Delta too.
Yeah, AKA.
But I think I was talking to the AKAs, and you know, one of the women there kept asking like, "Oh, I would have did this. Oh, when he did this, I would have did this. Why you didn't leave? Why you didn't leave?" And you know, the school psychologist, she was a Black woman. She stood up and she was like, you know, it's women like you that make it hard for women like her to come out and share their story, because you don't know what you would have did in that situation.
Right.
And nobody knows what they would do in that situation. And I'm so grateful because there's so many women serving decades of their life in prison for fighting back their abuser, and they end up killing them, and now they go into prison for the rest of their life. Or they end up fighting back. Even when I was in the house, in the shelter, there was a handful of women who fought back, and they had just got out of prison and was living there trying to rebuild their life because they fought back on their abuser. They never reported it. You know, the system is not really set up. They're still trying to pass laws right now to get women out of prison who are in prison for killing their abuser, or women who've been trafficked. You know, like the Centoya story, who killed the man that was being that trafficked her. You know, so I was grateful that, because it would have gone that way. He would have eventually tried to kill me at the rate. You know, there was times where he choked me till I blacked out. I thought I was dead. So, and you're not, you know, I'm small. I ain't know. Oh, Smokey Joe would have found him. But at that point, do we need Smokey Joe to find you? Because I wouldn't have been here.
Right. But so, like I said, sis, you know, hearing your story, and that's just like one aspect, you know, and not maybe 10 years later from that moment or less than.
So after that, I got custody of my 2 younger brothers, and I was taking care of them. My mom had some medical stuff going on, so I took them. And honestly, they kept me having 2 children. I think they were 10 and 12. It kept me grounded in that. And I look at my brothers now and see how much I influenced them. Like Elijah, shout out to Elijah. He's in films. Like, he, you know, I did his
Killing it.
Yeah, killing it.
He's so cold. He's so cold. He killed it. He's in Night Swim.
Night Swim.
Go watch Night Swim.
Night Swim.
He's in the pool. That's him.
Yeah. And, you know, like, I remember that's when I really started doing camera work, and I shot my first music video. It was with a girl group, 4HG. Shout out to them. I don't know where y'all girls at now, but shout out to y'all. They dad hired me to shoot their video. They needed somebody to come in, and the boy that they had that was rapping on the song, he just fell off. They were like, "Do you know anybody?" I was like, "My brother can do it." I didn't even know if he could do it. I didn't know. I was like,
he gonna do it. I'm getting paid. He gonna do it.
I wrote his verse, and it's funny because he, even on set, like, he didn't even want to participate really. And I was like, "Bro, you better do this. Like, you better get it together. I just need you to act right and do your lines and rap." And
that's so funny.
and it's so funny because he always shares that video on socials, and I'll be like, "Oh, it made me cringe," because I'm now so experienced. I look back at it, and it was my very first one. But like, I see how far he's come. He's so driven. Like, I was not even driven at that age, and he's so driven. And I remember the other day he sent me an interview with the Washington brothers. We talked
a little bit.
Yeah, and he was like, "Man, sis, this gonna be me and you," because one brother directed it, one was acting, and I was
what is that movie called? But it's powerful.
August Wilson movie.
Yeah, it's the August Wilson play.
Yeah, the piano.
The piano. Every black family needs to sit and watch the piano together.
Yeah, and then my other brother Isaiah, he does music too. So, you know, just to have them and immerse them in the things I was doing, because I was doing a lot of artist management for like student artists and doing PR and all of those type of things. Like, at one point I thought that's like what I was gonna do, be like an A&R, and you know, but it's not really.
I made her hate it.
It's not. It wasn't a lot of.
She quit on me.
Money, and I didn't quit on you. You laid me off.
Look, hey.
He would have found a whole nother team. I just
that
be
is
the
not
president.
true. But no, sis, and so, you know, the next like kind of major thing that you had to overcome was you are one of the few people in the world that can say they beat the feds.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, battled in court, and you beat the feds.
Yeah, after I did 2 years.
After
I had to do 2 years. Yeah.
Can you walk us through like just that whole journey? Because that's a whole nother beast that you had to you walked down. You went toe to toe.
Yeah, that was I had graduated and I was super broke and I was just trying to find my way. In 2012, it was a recession. All them jobs they be telling y'all is out there, they be lying because they don't want to give you jobs if you don't have the experience. So I started trying to forge my own path and got a call from an old friend asking me if I wanted to make some money. I should have known then. She was like, "It's nothing illegal." I should have known.
When they lead with the, it's nothing illegal, it's always illegal.
Right, but I'm thinking I had known her for a long time. She went to Florida State. I went to FAMU. She had a baby in college. I helped her with her baby. Like her lights would get cut off. Like we were very close. So I wasn't thinking that this person would put me in a just naive. You know what I mean? Just thinking that people are good, and a lot of times they're not. And you know, I went out to California. Let somebody put money in my bank account. The whole conspiracy to the case is these folks was getting weed from California, which was legal, and shipping it to Florida. So it's not like it was illegal. Which is illegal, but it's not like it was like heroin or people dying or gang. Like it was none of that. You know, it was just people selling, and this was before weed started popping up, being legal in multiple states. You know, it was kind of still new at the time. But I didn't know anything about the whole shipping and conspiracy. I didn't know anything about that. I was just trying to survive. And, you know, I got a call a few years later at my place of employment from an IRS agent. And if I had known what I was doing was illegal, I would have closed my account because that's how they found me, is that my account was still open and it was still the same. And I had my paychecks from my job were getting deposited. So that's how they were able to find where I worked.
Right.
And, you know, they called me and I started asking me questions, and I'm like trying to piece it together because at this point I hadn't talked to anybody. I had gotten married, moved states, like, you know, life was all of the things. And once he started like, oh, these people, they target people like you when you were in California. So then now I'm like, oh, shit, what is going on? That's why I asked him, I'm like, am I in trouble? Like, what is going on? Here? And you know, he was like, you need to come down and talk to us and give us emails and text messages and all. And at this point, I don't have none of that. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. They shipping pounds of weed and millions of dollars. I don't know nothing about that, sir.
Right.
I'm just over here trying to survive and live my life. And they wanted me to drive. At the time I was living in Louisiana, they wanted me to drive to, I think, Beaumont and sit on a recorded call with the IRS agent and the prosecutor. And I couldn't do it because, one, I know how the system is because I seen what happened to my mom when I was 8, when she was beat by a cop and in front of me, and they turned her into the criminal. And she ended up having to go to prison. She signed a plea deal for something she did not do. She did not hit that cop. He attacked her. I literally seen it with my own eyes. And then from that, she was put on probation, couldn't afford the fees. They incarcerated her at 7 months pregnant, gave birth to my youngest brother, handcuffed and chained to a bed, you know, and totally disrupted my life, like, for years. And so by this time, you know, this is like 15 or 16 years after this, I don't trust the system. I don't trust y'all. Even though I don't have nothing to hide, I don't feel comfortable coming to talk to y'all without an attorney. Y'all didn't even give me a chance to get an attorney. Y'all said come Monday. It was like Friday, come Monday. So when Monday came and I talked to them briefly on the phone, they was recording that call illegally because they didn't tell me. I just heard the beeping in the background. And I was like, look, I don't have anything to do with this. I don't feel comfortable coming to talk to y'all. Y'all clearly got who y'all want. So I don't know how much of a help I can be. And they said, you will see us again. And I was like, what does that mean? At the time I didn't know what I was dealing with.
Right.
The whole United States federal government,
Right.
the power that they carry, right? But I was just like, no, I'm not. I thought they was fishing. I thought, I'm like, no, y'all are just trying to set me up. And about a month later, they pulled up, hopped out at my job. I was working at Enterprise at the time, and literally scooped me up, kidnapped me from my place of employment. And when I they took me to this underground place in the courthouse where people don't even realize all the secret contraption doors and places that are in these courthouses. And, I'm asking the IRS agent, like, what are my charges? Like, what is going on? She didn't even know. She had to go dig in her briefcase and look for it. And it was conspiracy to structure financial transactions. That was my original charge. And the attorney, they gave me a public defender that day, and she slid the paperwork under the cell, the holding cell that I was in, and was like, oh, it was so nonchalant. Like, they don't give a damn about us. Like, oh, I think you're facing 20 years. And I'm like, the fuck? What?
For what? What?
It's just like, let me go check. Let me go find out and make sure, that if you're facing drug charges. And I'm like, okay. So I'm reading through this complaint, because at the time it wasn't even an indictment. And I've learned all of these different legalese terms because I've gone through the system. So I'm reading it, and it's like all these names. I don't know these people. I'm seeing like, oh, pounds of weed. Like, I don't even know how many pounds of weed, millions of dollars, all houses, cars, guns. I'm like, what?
Ain't got nothing to do with me.
Right.
Yeah.
So, she comes and says, oh, you're not facing any weed charges. You're just facing the financial crime or whatever. So at that point, the judge was like, I don't know what's going on. This Louisiana. She ain't got no tickets here. She ain't got nothing. She been working.
Clean. She minding her own damn business.
Y'all bring her in my courtroom. Y'all don't know what's going on. I don't even know where to tell you to go, ma'am. So they let me, release on your own recognizance, and she was like, you need to just check in with probation and they'll tell you what to do. So I ended up eventually having to go to California because that's where my case was out of. And that started a very long process. I was fighting the case for 2 years, and I had a public defender originally on the case who was really not for me. I mean, I remember just going at it with him. Like, he kept trying to make me take a plea. He sent me, it's called, it's basically the evidence, but it's called discovery. So they send you I was like, send me all the discovery in the case. I want to see what, so I'm going. And then he called me and said, oh, can you send it back? We wasn't supposed to send you that. I was like, yeah, y'all gonna get it back after I make a copy.
Right. That's crazy.
So, I'm trying to understand everything that's going on. I'm looking through all of everything with the, because I knew that eventually that he wasn't going to represent me properly. So I was trying to prep myself while trying to find an attorney. But what people don't realize in the feds, attorney fees are like a whole nother level. Like, they want $25,000 off top just to even look at your case.
So they're more expensive. Like, federal lawyers are more expensive than state cases.
Way more money. And I didn't have that kind of capital. I would have had to give up. I would have been homeless. I would have sell my car, do it. So I didn't have all that. So I just, turned to God, because at that point, it's really not much you can do when you're facing that. And so when this other attorney was brought on, he was brought on as a second attorney. And shout out to Jerome. I always shout him out because he went above and beyond. So the other attorney ended up just falling off. God took him away. And Jerome stepped up as the lead attorney. And he's a Black man. He had seen what this particular district had done to women, especially, women who live in poverty, and the way they just set them up to go to prison. And, he told me when he sent me the plea deal, he said, I have to send you this. But during this time, I'm, reporting into probation. I'm doing all the things. They check in, whatever, all the stuff they do when you're on pretrial pending some charges. So he sent me the plea deal, and he said you have the weekend to look at it before, you know, you make a decision. We got to let them know on Monday. Mind you, this is like a year and a half into, you know, them doing whatever the investigations they were doing, and the other lawyer calling me, telling me they're going to charge you with drug charges if you don't take a plea deal. Everybody's pleading out. You need to just take the 2 years, and, you know, all of that. And I looked at the plea deal, and it was millions of dollars that was not mine. Pounds, I don't even know how many pounds of weed, to be honest. Pounds of weed that they was allegedly buying off the internet. I'm like, what?
That's crazy.
Mansions that were not mine, Mercedes, Bentleys, guns. None of this stuff applied to me. And at the very end of the plea deal, it says the very last line is, if you sign this, you give up your appeal rights to forever, eternity. Forever.
How many people have signed something like that?
My mom did, because they told her, you risk being away from your kids for 10 years if you don't sign this deal and you try to go to trial. Wow. So it's one of those things. That's one of the things that they do. It's a manipulation tactic. And but because of what I witnessed, because of how I saw the system and what I said, no, if I'm going to do time anyway, I'm going to fight. I'm not signing my rights away, because I knew if I was convicted, I was going to appeal it anyway. So when I had that conversation with my attorney that Monday, I was like, I can't do it. He said, I don't blame you. I wouldn't be able to do it either. So we got ready to go to trial. I want to say, it might have been a few weeks before my trial was about to start. The feds superseded the indictment, which means they went before a grand jury again. And I went from 1 count to 13 counts. So I was facing over 100 years if I was sentenced to the max on each count.
Which is what they do to intimidate you, to push you to get that appeal so they can just...
Yeah, they want you to just plead out. That's what the system is designed to do, for you to plead out. If everybody stopped taking pleas and went to trial, the system would just completely shut down, because there's not enough judges and public defenders to process the cases at the rate that they are mass incarcerating people in this country.
Wow.
So if everybody said, no, I'm not taking no plea deal, you'd probably be waiting 5, 10, 15 years before you actually get to go to trial.
Wow.
Because we're already waiting 2, sometimes 3 years, depending on your case, depending on the situation, because the court systems are just so backed up. So if people
of the mass incarceration,
because of the way the system is designed. And so that's why they just want you to plead so we can just get this over with. So when you go to trial, they get pissed off. And although we have our constitutional right to a fair trial, it's not that way. Those are just words on the paper, especially for Black and brown people. Yeah. We get punished more. So that's why they say if you go to trial, you're looking at this amount of years. So for me, when I saw these 13 counts and they were carrying 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And I remember I was in Atlanta. I was working on the set of Atlanta when my lawyer sent me that. And it like literally halted me. And, you know, like I was like, this is crazy. Like I'm on the path of my dreams and I'm dealing with this, you know, like nobody knew. I just went off to the side and, cause he was like, my attorney called me. He was like, you got to look, I just emailed you, you know. And at that point, I just was like, you know what, God? I just went into my prayer closet. And I remember vividly, because I would always go in my prayer closet, but I remember, I forget what Bible verse. I'm good at saying them, but I'm not good at what Bible verse it is. But it says, faith of a mustard seed. And if you speak to that mountain and you trust and you believe that it will be moved, it will be moved. And I remember being in the closet just crying and looking at the stack of papers. I mean, it was bigger than these books. It was like probably here of all of the evidence that they had against me. And I just remember speaking to that pile of paper and believing and knowing that this would be moved. Mm-hmm. And God showed me that the people who came, it's in Isaiah, the people who come against you in court will be made to look like liars. Mm-hmm. And so, God was really my anchor in it. And that's how I was still able to go on with life because it was very, very heavy. And I didn't really tell people. I don't even think I really told Dad. Like, I didn't tell my mom. I didn't tell people because I thought I could beat it. You know, when it was the one count, I was like, oh, no, yeah, I got this. But when I was looking at that much time, that's when I was like, okay, I think I need to let some folks know.
Yeah, I remember getting that call. I remember exactly where I was. Me and my wife and Cass were out somewhere, and I think Dad called and he told me, and I just was like just frozen. I'm like, first of all, my sister's soft as hell. What the hell is going on? But then too, it was just like, cause I had just lost D.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, this cannot be real. Like, this just cannot be real. And so, you know, we walked down that, you know, you walked down that process. We as a family walked down that process. But the conviction comes down. You end up having to do, what was the sentence?
So the government was trying to sentence me to 8.5 years. I ended up getting 3.5. And I thought that I would get to turn myself in. Like, you know, I had been out. I thought after trial, like you could not have told me I was not going to walk out of that courtroom after I lost my trial because everybody else in my case got to turn themselves in. But mind you, I was the only Black person on my case.
Oh, really?
And the only person who went to trial.
Oh, I had no clue you were the only Black person.
I was the only Black person on my case. And
I ain't gonna lie, I thought this was some nigga shit.
No.
You mean to tell me this was white people?
This was white people and
this
Mexicans.
This was blow.
And Mexicans.
This is blow.
And I think one of the girls was Arab, I believe.
I had no clue. I thought this was some Black people stuff.
No, come on. What Black people you know buying weed off the internet?
No, I know. But now it makes sense. Now it makes, you know what I'm saying? But I just like literally, I pictured like I had this whole picture of the dude who was like at the top of the
No,
pyramid
and you know, and it's so crazy because
being...
like I say this now, and I always say this. I think I even told Dad this. I'm like, had I known what I know now, I would have robbed their ass.
Right. If anything, I would have robbed them.
At least I would have been sitting in the cell knowing I got something out of this.
Maybe I buried a little something to the side, like
something. Had y'all hold something for me.
I'd have got something. You know
but I didn't know. You know, I was very, very naive to a lot of this, and so you know, I ended up the judge. You know, these are very serious charges. I was found guilty on 11 counts. 2 they threw out because the prosecutor so hastily put the charges together, he messed them up. So they had to dismiss 2 off top. And then I was found guilty on 11. And the trial is one of the hardest things I've ever had to go through in my life because you have to sit there and listen to these people demean you and tell lies and just totally tear your character apart. And you can't say anything. And I remember one of the things that stood out to me the most is when the main snitch, the main person who took the stand to tell the whole conspiracy, whom I never met, said, you know, they asked him, have you seen the defendant? And I knew in my head, I was like, if he sit up here and lie, I'm finna go to jail today. Because I'm about to throw it. It was like a heavy metal water pitcher that was sitting right in front of me on the table. And I was like, I'm going to jail right now if he sit up here and tell this lie. Like he's met me and he's never, ever seen me in his life. And he just looked at me with a dumbass look on his face. And then he was like, no, I don't know her, but I know this person. I heard from this person and this person about a Black girl named Ashley.
Yeah, that can't even hold up.
They didn't say what I look like, you know, they presented me to be like.
If you was Black and born in the 80s, you probably was Ashley.
Right.
Full circle.
Facts. And, you know, they tried to make it like I was like the Griselda Blanco of Kush.
Right.
I was running a weed organization in Atlanta. I'm shipping pounds of weed. One shipment got lost and I drove to California to give them. And it's like none of this stuff was presented with any kind of evidence. The only thing that they had to prove was that I had money put in my account, which I never denied. Y'all got my picture. It's my account. You know what I mean? So that trial process was a lot. But, you know, once I got incarcerated, I realized that it wasn't just me that was happening to. But and even
did that give you some like like realizing, because I want to get to like what you're working on now, and like when you were in there, and I remember us going on that visit to see you. That was my first time visiting a facility, and I hadn't gone to see D yet. So my first interaction. No, actually that wasn't my first. My first was in college. We played a game. My coach was always doing that type of prison ministry and stuff like that. And so we played the prison team in Springfield, Missouri, and that was my first time. Yeah, I was scared.
You thought
you
they
talk
were
about, because you know how I hoop. You know how I like. I'm extra. Like I was like, hey.
But you thought they was gonna.
Don't none of y'all dunk. We not embarrassing none of them. We got to get up out of here. Because them gate, I'm looking at the gate. Ching, 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 doom. I'm like, hey, y'all, look, nobody, watch your crossovers, keep everything,
no elbows, keep
no extra nothing. Let's just get in and get out. I played like a white point guard for the first time in my life. I'm talking about fundamentals. But, the next time was, when we went, and I just remember being blown away by seeing that's somebody's grandmother. Mm-hmm. Ain't no way this lady handing out coloring sheets did something to get in here. You know what I'm saying? Just
right.
but like that was my thinking, because it's like, now you see some dudes, you like, brother, you might
right, you
look
a little,
like
yeah,
you're kind of supposed to be in here.
Yeah.
But to see like the women that were in there, and then you would share some of the stories of the women that you would, did your 2 years of experience really like put that fire in you to use the gift that you discovered at 9, 10, 11 writing to do what you're doing now?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I prayed to God to use me while I was there, and so I taught creative writing classes. I taught grant writing classes. I never even wrote a grant. Okay, I'm using them skills now.
Right. Yeah. Right.
But we did plays. A lot of the stuff.
I remember you telling how frustrated you was trying to put the play together.
That was it. But listen, it was worth it, because them women, when they got up there and they did their thing and they did poetry and they told their stories, and that was the first time some of them had ever even dealt with a lot of the issues that women go through that start long before they ever enter into prison walls. Your mind can be captive long before you ever become incarcerated. And so it was so healing, and it was so crazy because I was bringing light in a dark place, and that was making the guards mad. They didn't like me. They kept messing with me. They would threaten to take my visits away, or it was a lot, but I didn't care. I'm like, I'm in prison, and what else you gonna do to me that I haven't already been through already? And I'm at a camp. People, most of us shouldn't even be here right now. Right. You know what I mean? Like if you're incarcerated and you put at a camp, that's a low minimum. I literally could have walked. It was 3 women who escaped the first day I got there.
It looked like y'all could just hop on the boat and just go and get up out of here.
Listen, the women, they got away. I ain't from Mexico, so I ain't got no other country to go to, but they dipped. And I'm telling you, you give somebody 20, 30 years and then you put them at a camp? Like, that's crazy to me. That's crazy work. But it was very healing, and I will say that prison is really where it was the first time in my life. Obviously I didn't need to go to prison. Like, some people needed to be taken away from the streets or whatever they was doing to really get with God. I don't feel like I needed to be taken, but God allowed me to use that time to really hone in on the gifts that he gave me. And so I was like, they can take my body captive, but they can't take my mind. And so I used that time. I literally counted up. I read the book of Mastery, and I counted up the time that I had while I was waiting my appeal. I counted up the time, and I said, if I really take this time and just write I will be a master of writing. I will have my 10,000 hours before I walk out this door. And so that's what I did. And thankfully, I lied to get into this drug program because I thought I was trying to beat the system, a God system, and get out of prison early. And so I did this drug program where
you hated.
I know. It drove me. I was going to get more time, but it got me to the prison that had computers.
Yeah.
And that's why I think I wrote like six features, 3 shorts, 2 books, like so much poetry. Like I'm at the point now, I really don't even have to come up with any content for the rest of my life. I could tap into what I've already put on paper and just update it because times have changed. But you know, I didn't have to pay rent. I didn't even have to figure out what I was gonna wear for that day.
Writing.
That's it.
Yeah.
And people thought I was crazy. And I actually got really cool with, she was a guard, but she didn't, her name was Miss Valentine. She didn't dress like a guard. She didn't act like a guard. And she was over education. She let me come in there and just use the computers and print whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. And she even called me when I won my appeal and got out. She called me from a block number. It was like, you ain't tell me bye before you left.
That's funny. Shout out, Dad. So you got a call from the lady with the...
Oh, that was after I got out. But
okay.
So this is going on while I'm just head down writing, trusting God. I ended up getting out of the drug program because I just had haters. And I was like, I'm going to catch a case in here if I don't get out. It's like a cult. It's not really, they pretend that it's a program to help you, but it's very cultish and cliquish, and it's not really, they take these guards, they have them take an online class, and then all of a sudden they're counselors, and that's not reality. But I just remember feeling, I got to the point where I was talking to God, and I was like, God, I just can't take this no more. Like, I gotta get out of here. Like, I can't take this no more. I'm tired. And about a week later, I got a call from my attorney. The counselor came and told me to come on count time. It's count time. And she said, you got a call, come take your call. And he said, we won.
Wow.
He said, we won. You coming home. I'm trying to get you out today, but I don't know if it's going to get out that fast, but I'm trying to get you out. I just remember screaming, like, people was like, what happened? Because everybody nosy in the unit. They want to know what's going on. Right. And I was just like, I'm going home. And everybody supposed to be quiet during count time. And everybody screaming, clapping, all the stuff you see in the movies where they banging on the walls and all of that. Like, that's what it was. And it was a very joyous, the appeal. Yeah. It was online. You could watch it. And my attorney, although we lost at trial, we won on my appeal, and that elevated his career, because come on, who beats the feds?
Right, who beats the feds? Yeah. Who
beats the feds? And so I just remember I called Dad, and he was so excited, and I was just like, okay, look, just wait. He trying to get me out. He was like, yeah, he get me. I'll talk to him. Everybody was just like commotion, and I just was like, I just had this peace come over me. As much as I wanted to cuss them guards out. And I got placed with the one who was really messing with the women. Like, he would do some very disgusting stuff. And I had to sit with him and wait while I waited for Dad to come get me out. And I had so much joy and grace and just mercy on me. God would not allow me to cuss that man out. But I told him, because he even felt bad. Like, he was like, because they have this mindset that you're just guilty no matter what, that nobody in prison is not guilty.
Everybody's innocent.
It's like they train them. There's whatever they go through. And I was just like, I just told him, I said, because he used to act like he was so godly and you need to be in your Bible. And I was so scared because I had way more writings than I was supposed to have. And he used to raid people's cells.
Oh, and
but listen to this though. We had a camp, so y'all taking crochet needles, glitter, glue. Come on now, like stuff that we're using to help us cope with where we are. Oh, you got too much crochet. Oh, you got too many of this. You got too much glue. So he had raided the cell I was in many times, but nothing but the grace of God. They never took none of my stuff ever. Wow. And I had way more than you were supposed to have. Books, writing, all of that. He never took it. And in that moment, they didn't even know what to do. The whole compound was in an uproar. I had it was like 30 women behind me walking me out. I'm putting my hand up, chest out, God is good. Keep your head up. All of that, like all the people, the staff, they didn't know what to do. Someone had to come back to work. It was Friday. They went home. They had to come back to work to let me out.
That is right.
Because I had to be off the compound by 12 o'clock before they did before they did their next count. And I just remember sitting him and I told him, I said, you know what? As judgmental and as harsh as you are and the stuff that you do is not right. But God sees everything. And just how he had mercy on you, you need to have mercy on these women. And he was like, well, some of these women, if you're nice to them, then they think you want them. I said, don't nobody want you. So
brother. Hey, brother. Like,
don't nobody want you. And I remember the other woman was a cool guard that was there. And she was like, she looked out and she was like, nobody cares about him. Like, no, nobody worries about him. And I just was like, you need to stop doing what you're doing to the women here because it's not right. And you play like you love God, but God sees it all. And he just was looking.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's still there, but he used to just do crazy stuff like watch us in the bathroom. He would roll around looking
what
like...
What Kendrick say? Freaky ass niggas need to stay their ass inside.
Yeah. He would wear like shirts that had guns on them, AKs. And
they ain't had to wear uniform?
I was at a camp, so they kind of were more lenient. They had uniform, but they could still have a regular... They could choose their shirt.
Got you.
But he used to walk around with like a Department of Corrections jacket on. Like, like it just did too much. But yeah, so after... Dad came and got me.
Wait, you skipped something.
What?
You skipped something that was really like special that we did and prophetic. So I was working on my second album at this point. Yeah, you forgot.
Yeah.
And so in the midst of we talked when you were going through the drug program stuff, and you were just, I don't think I can do this. Mm-hmm. And it inspired me to write this song called Stay Solid.
Yes.
And I wrote this song called Stay Solid, and it talked about our family's bout with the prison system, from my dad to uncles to, my friend D, and then to you. And on that song, I had you write a spoken word, and we figured out a way to have you record it, and in the poem, you detail, like you just said earlier, lock my body, can't trap my mind. But you also said, I'm coming home soon.
Yeah,
you had no inclination.
I didn't, and I changed it because originally I said I'm coming home next year. And when I did the poem on the phone with you, I said I'm coming home this year.
You did. Wow. And it was prophetic.
Yeah.
So it was like, to be able to have that. What do you remember about, me calling you with the idea? Because you didn't hear the song until you came home.
No, we didn't talk on the phone. I think we talked through emails.
We did. We were doing JPay because I would do JPay with you and D.
Well, the Feds is not JPay. I forget what Core Links is Feds.
Okay.
But
I had both apps.
I
had the apps.
Same concept. Stealing people money who ain't got it.
Right.
But yeah, we talked through email a lot, pretty regularly. And I would just tell you kind of like, it's all good. Like, and I remember you telling me like that you were like just inspired by the fact that I could still like. You were still cooking. You had all these things you had written and. Yeah. And you was like, I got this idea. I want you to write a poem. And I don't know if you told me the concept. It's so crazy because in my memoir that I'm working on, I have those emails. I printed them out. So they're going to go in my book. Wow. Where we were talking about it. I printed out a lot of emails with my siblings, and a lot of that is going to go in my book. But yeah, and I wrote I don't know, I think I had already had the poem written to a degree because I had so much stuff that I was writing, but I went and I was like, okay, this got to be like a powerful, like revolutionary. I'm putting my Black Panther hat on. Like, I think the poem I sent you was like 3 pages.
Yeah, the first one was long. I was like, sis, I can't do nothing with this. I can't. It's your song now.
But I mean, this is what I had. So I was like, pick what what I told you when I sent it. I'm like, this is long. So just tell me what, what you want me to do out
That's
of it.
right, and I chopped it down.
You said just do the last part. Yeah. And so I just remember when we finally, it's so crazy because every time I listen to that song, and it's in my film, my documentary, it's just like I hear the voices of the other women, and that's the biggest thing for me, because I was like, what did they think looking at me doing this on the phone? Because we're right here, we're right next to each other. You know what I mean?
I didn't even think about that, the optics of that. Wow.
Yeah, where everybody can hear each other's conversations. There's no privacy, And then I was also,
and you can hear them in the back.
Yeah.
You can hear it in the background
because they're right here. I was in a middle phone. There's 3 phones here, 2 phones here, so I'm in the middle. And I would like to know what the guards was thinking. Like, what was y'all thinking when y'all, because they listen to the calls,
Right.
I remember that guard I was talking about. I remember I told Dad, if they call you in this place is shot up, he did it. But yeah, and I remember when I first heard the song, though, it was just like, wow, like the fact that we were able to even pull that off in that way, was
shout out to my boy CJ too, because I was on his head. Like, I was like, listen, bro, when we transition the song, like, you gotta play like the Spirit of the Lord
has to be upon you.
Oh, brother, don't you come in here with this. You know what I'm saying? Like, this gotta be.
Yeah.
And it did. What he played, just thinking about it, like, is like, you know what I'm saying? Because it just was so perfect. Mm-hmm. It was so perfect.
You redid it, though.
What you mean?
You redid the song. The original song.
Right.
We went back and redid it.
Yeah, we did. We redid it, but yeah, it's powerful. I love that song so much.
Yeah, well, it's gonna be it's in the documentary, so it's gonna get some new life.
Speaking of, you go through all of that, you come home, and once again rebuild your life. And what was crazy was my life is falling apart now. Mm-hmm. And you rebuilding your life, but we're in this kind of like transition. Mm-hmm. And for the first time ever, we were able to, that was the most time we've ever spent together. Yeah. As adults, I would say. Period, in our lives, period. Yeah. And I was so happy to just be able to be that close with you. I mean, y'all came up to Springfield before I moved back down here, mm-hmm. For a show, and you remember that day? That had fun. That was a good time. That was a good time. Jameson show. Shout out to Jameson. Shout out to Jameson. I had never even heard of Jameson before that. And I was like, who is this? Yeah, we had a good time. It was, oh, yeah, y'all was out. And my feet was hurt. It was a good time. But, I moved back, and, that's where I get the idea to start Home Team Records, and mm-hmm. before you quit. I did not quit. It's cool. We'll leave that for a different episode. Look, I'm contracted. What you need? What's up? I got you. We'll talk about it off cam. But and I'm gonna get you up out of here. But after those times, we were able to spend all that time together, and you rebuilt your life. You got 2 beautiful kids now. You own your house, mm-hmm. and you are still fighting the fight, mm-hmm. like every day. Mm-hmm. Your whole, you literally live your purpose. You wear your purpose. And now you're working on something to like literally shake up justice reform. Like, mm-hmm. what are you working on right now? So my documentary is called Black Butterflies. And I actually started working on this doc before I went to prison. I started working on it just to tell the world about my story, because I was already a filmmaker before I became incarcerated, and I started documenting like all of the things when I meet with my attorney. So I started back in 2015, 2016 with the concept, right? The original concept was to tell the world what they did to me, right? And how the system was attacking me and trying to hem me up. And then I was doing like a 30 days countdown. I was recording every day,
like, oh, this is what, you know.
I remember that.
Yeah, I
remember
was
you
doing
taking
like
that
my
footage,
prayers and like, you know, all of that, and talking to the camera, telling them everything that was going on. And then I thought that once I got out, I mean, not once I got out, once I, if I lost or if I won, right, for my trial, then if I had to go to prison, I was going to count down the days, right? And at that time, nobody was doing that. There was no kind of content like that. You know, now the world is so like prison. We want to hear the prison. Yeah, they love it. They love it. All the stuff on Netflix, and, you know, which to me is pimping people's pain, because these stories are not told by us. And that's where I'm coming in, because I am a justice impacted person. I've lived this lived experience, and I am owning, and then I'm giving the opportunity or ownership to other people who are impacted by the system to own their own stories. If you look at a lot of the stuff that's out right now, we don't own that. Facts. It's owned by, you know, the Khalif time. That's Jay-Z them. You know, all of these different. It's not owned by us. Khalif's family doesn't own that story. You know, even though that's his life story. So I started working on it then, became incarcerated. That's when I realized it wasn't just my story that needed to be told. Like, this was something that was prevalent in the federal system dealing with Black women. Like, if you look at all of the cases for Medicare fraud, any kind of healthcare fraud, any kind of tax fraud, it's majority Black women who have businesses, who were doctors, lawyers, judges. Like, there's other, you know, there's other white women go to prison too. And then the one thing I learned about in the Fed system, which this is another project, wow, that's another story, but I'll just briefly tell you, when you are Latino or Hispanic, they make you check that your race is white. There is no Spanish, there is no Latino, no Mexican option when you get into the Feds. You either are white or you're Black. Really? Or you're like, I think they have the option for like Native, because that's, you know. But all of the Spanish women that I was close to while incarcerated, their race on their badge was white, non-Hispanic. And I'm like, that's crazy. So this system is already rigged. So we don't even know the amount of people, Spanish people, who are incarcerated, because they're not able to properly tell their race when they become incarcerated. So I realized, you know, and the Black Butterflies is the one that's focused on Black women, but I have other projects that, you know, because the system is vast. Right. But yeah, so Black Butterflies became something bigger than me. And so when I got out, I started doing my research, and I tapped into 3 other women's stories. Keita Haynes, who I was introduced to her through my attorney. She was the first, my attorney told me about her when I was in county jail. And when I was so depressed, I thought my life was over. When my attorney sent me some articles on her, when I read her story, it changed my entire outlook on life. Because she went to prison, kind of a similar case, dealing with weed. She had a boyfriend at the time who was selling weed. She didn't know. She signed for some packages. She got out and became a public defender for the state of Tennessee. And is the first Black woman to run for Congress in her district as somebody with a felony background. I'm in her book. She has a book out too, where I wrote her a letter from prison, and she put that letter in her book. So she's in my film.
The power of sharing your story. Yes,
and she told me that when she cried when she read my letter, because she said, if my story can just impact one person, then that means it wasn't in vain. I have Tyneese Hall, who she was sentenced to like 30-something years because her boyfriend was selling drugs, and she ended up getting clemency from Trump. So that's a whole hot topic there. But at the end of the day, we don't care who signs them papers. We just want to get out, be free. Yeah. She's a mother. Her son was 2 when she went in. She ended up doing like 14 years. So she's in my film. And then I have Leah, whose father had some healthcare businesses when she was like 18 or 19, and put them in her name, and she did 11 years, and she has $8 million restitution right now. So that's another aspect that we dive into in the film, is that these restitutions that they put over our heads, it's literally life in prison, which is not in prison because you can't do anything. You can't get a house.
$8 million.
$8 million. Yeah. And there's a campaign that is called Remission Now that I'm working on with the organization that I work with to bring that to light and get some legislation passed around that to where they cap that. Because there's another woman I know, she's not in my film, but she had $500 million restitution right now.
$500 million. What did she do for $500 million?
I don't know her case specifics. It don't even matter. Why would you give somebody $500 million restitution that has no victims? A lot of these times it has no victims. You know, people think of restitution as, oh, you did harm to somebody and that's who you're paying. No, these are cases with the federal government. The federal government thinks that they're the victim.
Right.
And so, but yeah, so black butterflies, basically the concept is if you look up what the definition of a black butterfly, it can either be an omen or a rebirth. And so that is where what this is a rebirth, and I'm exposing the tactics that the federal government does in order to get convictions and how they target black women. They give us sentences longer than either the men were associated with or however it looks. White people do the same thing and get probation or get less time. They get 2 years or 1 year or whatever, but you sentence somebody to 35 years because her boyfriend sold drugs? Oh, because she couldn't tell you anything because she didn't know anything.
Right.
You sentenced this young woman to 11 years. You know, Keita ended up, she was sentenced to 7.5. I think she ended up doing almost 4. And so there's that aspect where I'm disrupting it because I'm disrupting the system because I'm exposing it, right? A lot of people don't know this until you in the system. And then I'm also trying to educate my sisters because a lot of these young girls think that they can't get in trouble when they date dope boys, and y'all can. Y'all can get more time than them just because you don't touch the drugs, you don't see the drugs, you don't do any of that. They will lock you up and throw away the key just because you don't know what to tell them. Like in Tanisha's situation, her boyfriend got less time than her.
And he was the one.
And he was the one doing. She just lived. They just had a house together, and the house was in her name.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm exposing that for what it is, and then it's also a very personal story. I am navigating the intergenerational trauma of incarceration from dealing with my mom and me being incarcerated, because if you look at my mom, if you look at me, if you look at where I come from, if you look, there's nowhere where you would see prison in my future.
Yeah.
So if it can happen to me, it can happen to you. And they're still, the federal government is still doing these things and they're unchecked. Like I tried to sue them and they told me I couldn't sue them because they have pure immunity. So y'all can take years of my life away, you know, because there's no police violence or, you know, things like that. Because people have sued the state, the different states for the time that they took away from them. But because mine was a federal case, I cannot sue the judge. I cannot sue the prosecutor. I can't. And so, you know, and it's so funny because the judge was mad. He was like livid that you know, when they sentence you, they ask you, do you have something to say? Right? And you get to talk. He ain't asked me nothing. He hung up the phone.
That's crazy.
But yeah, so Black Butterflies, I got my first grant in 2021. Shout out to Austin Film Society. It was literally like words on a page. Remember when we was during COVID and we shot that video where I was telling my story? That is what helped me get that grant. And then I just haven't been able to secure any more funding. So coming up from Women's History Month, I'm launching my crowdfunding campaign. You can go to blackbutterflies. It won't be live until March 15th is when it actually kicks off. But we're trying to raise $25,000 to get us to the next level of production. The way that this film is being shot, it's not just typical documentary. It's going to be Ava's 13th to the next level. You know, and it's going to have poetry and prose and all of those things and like cinematic reenactments and all of the things. You're going to feel like you're watching a movie and not necessarily a doc. But I want it to be an experience. I want people to walk away being like, man, like this, I had no idea that this is what happens to Black women in the system. And the one thing I always say is you cannot talk about criminal justice reform or about mass incarceration unless you start talking about the mass incarceration of Black women in this country. It is so deep, and I go into that as well. It goes all the way back to when slavery ended and they were locking Black women up and using the free labor. The same thing they did with men is the same thing they did with women, except these prisons were never designed for women at all. So I'm diving into that, and then hoping that people walk away educated as well. And then I plan to work with an organization to use this as an advocacy piece to end the way the system use conspiracy laws, because that is how they wrap up everybody. You'll be on a case with 30 people you don't know. They use conspiracy, so they don't actually have to prove anything to lock you up. And that's just really what the feds do. That's why they throw, and now they're doing this RICO thing I'm seeing is like a big popular thing. But conspiracy, you actually get more time for conspiracy than, like if you were selling drugs, you get more time for ghost like conspiracy than actually being caught, people who are actually caught with stuff. And so, and it's so easy to be caught up in a conspiracy. And with the feds, all somebody has to say is, I seen you.
Right.
And you,
you up the road.
Right. So yeah, Black Butterflies, God gonna make this happen. I've been getting a lot of rejections, and I'm just trusting God, because I be seeing some of these films and I'm like, I don't understand how you got funded, but I can't get funded, but it is what it is. I'm just gonna trust God that everything is gonna fall in place the way that it's supposed to, and this film is really gonna change lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, sis, I'm proud of you.
Thank you, bro. I'm proud of you too.
I'm always inspired by you. I don't know why you brought that, but I'm, like I said, I'm so proud of you, and we're gonna put a QR code with her Cash App.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So until the
campaign,
until the campaign launches,
well, we have a GoFundMe, so we'll put that.
Okay, we're going to do the GoFundMe.
Yeah.
We're going to do the GoFundMe. So y'all make sure y'all hit the GoFundMe QR code that's down here in the video. Y'all support this movie. Like, I don't want to hear, you pro-Black, you this, you that, and you ain't supporting something that is communicating our people's plight by somebody who has lived it. This isn't going to somebody they read a book about it. This is somebody who's lived it through and through. All right, so, sis, once again, I just appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of Joseph Live. We lost our logo. We've been going, this is my longest episode.
For real?
Yeah, and it's so much more we could dive into.
Right.
So we might have to do a part 2.
Yeah, we'll do a part 2.
When the movie is out, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I'll come back and update y'all on where we at.
There we go, because we
and
might
can
need
show
more
some
cash
clips.
out.
Yeah, I can show some clips. Or maybe I'll bring one of the ladies that's, in the film, so she can talk about her story too.
Yeah, that'll be fine. Well, loved ones, I appreciate y'all again for tuning in. This has been another episode of Joseph Live. The story is me. Until next time. Peace.
Yeah, let's get to it. I say a prayer and I get to it. If it's a problem, we get to it. Never know how we get to it. I took an L, had to get to it. I overcame what I've been through. If it's a problem, we get to it. Never know how we get to it. Let's get to it.